So, Ian, in the Defence Review, great emphasis was put on boosting the national resilience of the British homeland.
Mhm.
Could you tell us a bit about what your commission does and how it contributes to that mission of keeping everybody in Britain safe?
Well, we are an independent, non-partisan, not-for-profit organisation. We are nothing to do with government. We are there as an advocacy organisation. We were established by Lord Toby Harris. Actually, he started before COVID. The first meetings were in 2020. And it has some 50 commissioners who are listed on the National Preparedness Commission website. There is, as you say, a huge focus on resilience, the importance of a resilient nation. However much you invest in resilience of critical national infrastructure, things will go wrong, inevitably. For example, the threat of a space weather event for which we will get only a few hours' notice if we're lucky. 160 years since the Carrington event, but we know there were orders of magnitude events larger than that earlier in the millennium. What effect would they have on the satellites on which we are totally dependent for every day of our working, living lives? The Royal Institute for Navigation produced a report for us recently on what the effect of the loss of position, navigation, and timing data would have, and it would be utterly, utterly devastating. The corona mass exclusion ejection would take place, as I said, very short notice, routinely at the time at which the solar cycle, its 11-year solar cycle, reaches its peak. And I'm sure that we're all keeping our fingers crossed that when it reaches its peak next July, it will have forgotten that we're several hundred years overdue. But what if we are? What happens? What happens if we lose all connectivity? If we lose all power? If we lose all mobile phone information?
Sounds like we're in trouble.
Well, yes, but Toby Harris says himself that it's very difficult for a politician to persuade the electorate that you invest in something today. You reduce expenditure on services today in order to invest in against something which may never happen, but if it does, you will be grateful. So how do we get the message across that every single citizen, household, community, business has an obligation to look after itself? The Nordic nations are all over this. The Swedes have every household has a booklet if crisis or war comes. They've reissued that every few years since 1943. It is embedded in the DNA. And yet, if you talk to people in this country, they say, remember we had the trial of a mobile phone emergency alert system about 18 months ago. It was ridiculed. People said, why are you doing this? Are you trying to scare us? The Swedes test theirs every 3 months.
Okay.
So how do you get that mindset that, however, when you talk about resilience, you will only be truly resilient if individuals are prepared for the worst that can happen. And the UK government's Prepare website has very clear guidance on what one should do. I suspect no one really is familiar with it.
No.
But if one thing that you might want to communicate to people is that Google UK Prepare, and that will tell you what you should be doing. But no one knows about it.
Okay. In the sort of current scenario, resilience is often talked about as being, they call it jabs and sandbags. It's coronavirus and it's flooding.
Mm-hmm.
But we now have the Russian threat with missile attacks and drones maybe attacking Britain. How does that change the mindset and the work of organisations like yourself?
Well, the view of the Preparedness Commission is that to be prepared for one crisis is to be prepared for any crisis. So it needs to be threat agnostic.
Right.
So that if things that you need to do to protect yourself against a wildfire or a flood or an earthquake, the individual citizen has a responsibility that he or she has taken the basic precautions to do what they should do. I'm afraid the perception, or my perception of attitudes in 21st century UK are, oh my God, there's a crisis, what are they doing for me? Not, why was I not, as a citizen of the state, taking reasonable precautions myself, because I don't want to have to be rescued by someone who actually should be out there rescuing other people.
So Ian, thank you for your help. I'm going home to get prepared.
Good.